ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परम ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. My ill health kept me away from these talks, so let us have a short talk now. Okay. Ekiya Samadhanam. I think we have to, in order to continue the thread, each time there is a longer gap, we have to go into little past, and the repetition of the past happens again and again. Picking up the thread and continuing becomes a little difficult because it gets a repetition. It gets repeated. So, so in the sixth point, the Mulavidyavadi's answer to a common man. Common man looks at the avasthas in such a way. Shankaracharya's Murti. Here is a Murti. As I look at it, I feel very happy. So Shankaracharya's Murti. So looking at, I can speak. So, common man looks at the avasthas happening in the world. See his view of looking at it. There is a world independent and real on its own. And I am a part of this world. So I am undergoing the three states: waking, dream and deep sleep. So the world is there when I am experiencing waking. The same world is there while I am experiencing dream. Even while I am going to sleep, the world is there. In fact, I sleep within the world. I sleep within the world. Only my mind blocks away the world. I just take a rest, but the world continues. So what the common man thinks is the world exists independently in all three states. Therefore, if you look at the three states the way common man looks at them, only what comes, what will be the conclusion that is arrived, that will be arrived from the common man's standpoint is world is an independent entity in spite of my changing states. I may change any number of states, but the world continues as it is. That means there is a world and I am an individual. This duality continues to exist in spite of living any number of states, or in spite of living these three states any number of times. We repeat these states. Any number of times we come to experience these states, one after the other. World continues, states keep changing, I remain the same individual, Jiva. Therefore, the duality is the reality. Now, the Vedanta Prakriya, Vedantic Prakriya, which Siddhanti or the main author of the book, Swamiji, wrote in the beginning an outlines of Avastatraya. So the Vedantic Prakriya of Avastatraya, he just bare outlines, he told how to observe the states the way Upanishad teaches you. Upanishad has got certain way of looking, but that is in keeping with Anubhava. It is not just a wild imagination or theory or only a theological. Theological means a matter of belief. It is a fact of life. It helps you, wants you to go deeper into it and look at it in a proper angle. And the angle is in your life alone. It is a fact of you. It is a fact of our life, universal fact. So Vedanta first, it shows you how to look at the avasthas. How to look at means the angle of looking is there in our life. It is our own experience. We only not using that experience. We are not using that experience. We are ignoring that aspect of it and living in a superficial and wrong level. That's why common man lives in a superficial level of looking and a wrong looking and superficial looking. Whereas the Upanishad points out there is another level in you, a deeper and a universal level in you. From that angle you look at the avasthas, and examine them. examine them properly, rightly, and then you come to see that the world doesn't exist apart from you and you are the non-dual. So in the beginning, Vedantin told by examining the three states, we come to understand the Atma is independent of the world and without the world. Without the world means doesn't mean leaves out the world. No, without the world is a very technical way of telling. Doesn't mean he leaves out the world and remains alone. No, he includes the world and without the world. That is a way of Advaita means he includes the entire world in himself but remains without the world. That means in spite of include, that means the world itself doesn't exist apart from himself. Okay, world doesn't exist apart from himself. Then when it is not apart from you, when it is yourself, when it is one with the Atma, it is only Atma, not as a world. Then it is no more a world. Once it is one with me, it is only Atma. It is pure consciousness alone. There is no world. And the same thing is called world. World is not an entity by itself. World is not a real parallel entity apart from the Atma. It is only a way of appearance. Okay? The Atman appears in a way, in a context, in an angle of looking. Okay? The world is something, world is what appears the same Brahman in a given context, in a narrow, limited, wrong context. That's all. So it is only an appearance. Therefore, you don't have to remove it or destroy it or keep away from it, because itself is only an angle of looking. It's not an entity by itself. World itself is not an entity. In fact, this is what has to be taught. What we need to learn by all this Avastatraya Viveka is that world is not a substantial reality. It is only an experience. And that experience itself is not an absolute reality. It is in a context, in a level, in a wrong level, in a limited level. And you go deeper into that level, you go deeply into that experience. This worldly level of experience is only a wrong appearance of my real self. So there is a real self and it is a wrong appearance of the self. So the avasthas and the world appear to be there, they come to be experienced at a wrong level. But if you go to a deeper and real level, neither the avasthas nor the world exist apart from that non-dual Atman. So the purpose of the entire teaching is to help you to observe the world properly. Properly means from your own angle, not by imagination, not by imposition, not in a theological way, okay? Not in a blind way. So it helps you take a right angle, a right way of looking, then examine them, the time, space and subject-object relationships. We take time and place, time and space and subject-object relationships as absolutely existing. Now, by examining the three states, we come to understand the subject-object and their relationship, presence of subject-object and their relativeness. In fact, they are present only in a relative way. It is not that first the two exist and then they get related. Not that first subject exists, object exists, then they come to be related. In fact, their very existence is relative. The existence of subject and object is mutually relative. And then the time, and they are experienced, the subject object are experienced in time and place, time and space. So we have to watch this time, examine the time, space and subject object relationship. They are not absolute. They are only a certain level, a certain experience level. And that experience itself is not an absolute. It is only a limited, a tentative, from certain angle. You can leave out that experience because that experience is one small part of you and you exist much larger, much deeper, much vaster than that experience of duality. This experience duality is only a one small part of you. Second point about is, it is not only small part, it is only an apparent false appearance of you. It is not a real existence of you. Okay, so discovering oneself as the pure existence, independent of, not only independent of world and avasthas, but the avasthas and world also don't exist when at my real level of Atma. At my real level of Atma, this world and avasthas don't exist as avasthas as the world. World doesn't exist as a world. Avasthas don't exist as avasthas. They exist as me. As me means the consciousness Atma, the conscious Atma. So they are in their real nature Atma. Appearance, they appear as a world. They exist as Atma, appear as a world. So the world itself is not an entity. Okay? Like in the example of rope and snake, it appears as a snake but exists as a rope. Isn't it? This is an interesting thing. This is the thing we need to understand. It doesn't exist as a rope and therefore it appears. That's a mistake. That is a misunderstanding we have. It doesn't appear while existing as a snake. Okay? It appears as a snake but exists as a rope. Even while it is appearing as a snake, it continues to be the same rope. The snake doesn't know that it is a snake. Snake knows that it is a rope. It is you who see it as a snake. But the snake knows that it is rope. That's the beauty of it. Okay? The snake knows that it is a rope and it is not a snake. Snake is what you see, but rope is what it exists. So similarly, world and avasthas are appearance, but they exist as Atma. They exist as Atma, as pure consciousness, so they don't exist apart from Atma, other than Atma, or as a non-Atma. Anatma doesn't have an existence apart from Atma. It is only appears. Again, the appearance is a wrong appearance. False appearance. False means not in its reality. False means not in its reality, but in another level, a wrong level. The another level itself is a wrong. Level means you are moving away from Atma. That means you are ignoring the Atma and seeing it as something else. That something itself is ignoring Atma, misunderstanding Atma, not looking Atma as it is. So therefore, this is the real prakriya of Vedantins. But common man is unable to understand this, because common man lives in this, in his level of ignorance only, in his level of misunderstanding. Therefore, he sees the world existing, ever existing, as a real, substantial, independently. And I exist as a person within the world. Therefore, world naturally has to exist. In my waking state, in my dream state. What about deep? Even in deep sleep, I may not be able to see, but the world doesn't cease to exist. In fact, I sleep in the world alone. Even to sleep, world is required. I sleep in the world only. My body is lying there. My mind takes rest. For the mind to take rest, for the body to lie down, you need the world. Therefore, during sleep, I don't experience personally the world, but the world exists. And in that world alone, I go to sleep. So this is the common man's strange, not strange, it's a very deep misunderstanding. A biggest misunderstanding. He lives in this misunderstanding. So if you tell him by examining the three states, you will understand the truth. If you tell a common man, by examining the three states, you will come to know the reality about the world and the states and about you as an individual. The truth of your individuality you come to know. In your truth, you are not an individual, you are Brahman. World, states and you as an individual. All these three, world, states and you as an individual, all the three don't exist as they are. They exist as you as a Brahman, you as a consciousness. Okay? So this he won't be able to understand. But generally they think that by examining the three states, you arrive at the truth. He listens to this much. Only this sentence. But how? This is only a bare statement. But how to examine? That he doesn't know. He only takes this bare statement as a Mahavakya. He goes home and he examines in his own way. In his own way means what? He has got already a wrong way. That is what is individuality, jiva, samsara, all that is a wrong way, a misunderstanding. So he takes this statement and uses this statement in the context of his own misunderstanding. And retaining that misunderstanding, from the level of his misunderstanding, he takes the statement, tries to examine. By examining the states any length of time, any number of times, he comes to arrive that the world is independently existing there as a reality. And he says that no, what you are telling is cannot be accepted. I have examined the world any number of times, and the world continues to be there. World is there, it is there, it is definitely there. It is definitely there, and you cannot circumvent it, you can't escape it, you can't ignore it, you can't imagine, you may only imagine that the world is not there, but even that imagination is in the world alone. Even that imagination proves to the world, therefore you can never escape the world. The world is an absolute reality. This is what he thinks. Okay? Because he took only this statement, that by examining, see, when Vedanti has briefly shown how to examine the states, in spite of that, you see the common man, the jignas, an ordinary student who is a beginner, he takes only that final conclusion. Most of the people do the same thing. When I'll give you an example. Example means just a little more detail, not example. You explain details and give a last conclusion. He takes only conclusion, the logic, the example, the explanation, all that he forgets it. Leaves out, takes the only concluding statement. Takes the only concluding statement, divested from, separated from the logic, arguments, experiences, analysis, all that he sets aside. Only takes the conclusion. And he applies the conclusion in his own way. In his own means in his own context, to his own context, in his own way of looking, he takes it in his own way and applies to in his own context. Whole thing is taken in a wrong context. He takes the bare statement of it. Just like Tattvamasi. You take Tattvamasi, what does it mean? You take it and apply it in your own way and in your own context, to your own context. And you get your own meaning. Not what Vedanta says. So Vedantic statement that you are Brahman or Tattvamasi is taught along with the entire teaching. It unfolds the entire Mahavakya, the logic, analysis of experience and all that, how to look at it, all that. Then at the end, that is a conclusion. But he says, I'll take only the conclusion and leave out everything. How can you do that? Then see, that statement you take it, okay, I understand. But how will you apply? How will you understand? You want to understand, you use your own context. Upanishad used that statement in a context, in a prakriya, in a way of teaching, in a way of examination. But that the way of examination, the context means anubhava. So that avastha context and anubhavas, the anubhava, examination, context, all that prakriya, all that you set aside, take only the statement, but apply it to your own context, your own angle of looking, and your own way of looking, and your own way of examination. And the whole thing you apply to yourself. And you say, yes, I know Vedanta. I found that Vedanta failed. Vedanta is wrong. Yes, I have done with my own experience. I have done research. I found that Vedanta is a false thing. I have confirmed it. I have done a PhD. Now I can show you. If you want, you can read it for yourself. Many people do like this. Many people do like this. I think most of us do. So this looks, so all this shows how people are so ignorant, how we have lost. We have lost, we ourselves, because the very ignorance of us, we follow that ignorance, because the ignorance is an instinctive, unconsciously means you are not controlling that, your angle of looking, your view of looking, your vision you are not controlling. The vision is controlling you, is driving you. That's why we say adhyasam puraskritya sarve pramana prameya vyavahara. Adhyasa is an instinctive misunderstanding. That is driving you. You as an individual, your outlook, your thinking, your understanding, your acting, your experiences, all of them are driven by that instinctive adhyasa. So that instinctive adhyasa is driving you. It is forming a foundation of you. And you don't know how to question the very, in fact, you question everything with the help of that adhyasa only. It is adhyasa making you to haunt, making you to search. It is adhyasa making you to search. that basic misunderstanding on account of which you become an individual and see the world, that basic adhyasa is forming a basis of you, and it is driving you in all your pursuits of worldly pursuit, paraloka pursuit, that is a religious, worldly pursuit, religious pursuit, and even your philosophical pursuit. In all these pursuits, that basic assumption, that basic adhyasa is forming a foundation. So that means, what I meant to say is, you never question that basic instinctive thing that is pushing you, that is driving you. You go by the drive. You are get carried away by the drive, and you think that you are searching and doing, and oh, we have searched a lot, we have found out a lot, we discovered many things which we did not know. Oh, so you may discover many things. You may discover many more things which you did not know before. But the basic assumption that I am individual, I am not Brahman, continues. That is the main drive. It is pushing you into the worldly life, pushing you into samsara, pushing you into the other world, but never to question that. If you question that, you are not you. You are not an individual, you are Brahman. That's a different. So that I would not know. So you take your basic adhyasa. Anything you listen, apply it to your context of adhyasa, context of your sense of individuality. Any teaching you take ready-made conclusion, apply it to your own same jiva condition and same adhyasa by which you are driven, and with the same driving force, you apply all Vedantic statements. Whole thing goes waste. It doesn't work at all, isn't it? This is what that's why we say tradition, guru, tradition, guru. Why do we insist? Why do we keep on insisting tradition, guru? Not that we need personal importance. Not that you can't learn and you learn. It's not the question of you and me. You learning or my teaching. My means guru. I'm sitting in the place of guru, I'm talking. So the same me, I can be on the disciple side, I can be on guru's side. So the me is fluctuating on either side. So me means a guru. So if we take that gurus, so if that's why we insist on guru and teacher, guru, and then tradition, because that instinctive drive, instinctively, it is instinctively going on. That is an swabhavik adhyasa, an instinctive, natural adhyasa that doesn't allow you to question. The very adhyasa that pushes you, that makes you to search a lot. You will search a lot. You will find out many things. But in all searching, in all finding out, in all your findings, the underlying adhyasa continues. That doesn't allow you to question. It is the guru and tradition. It is Vedanta that says you, this is the basic adhyasa. You question that. Don't question everything else being driven by that adhyasa. We question everything else being in adhyasa, living in adhyasa, being driven by adhyasa. And it he says, what is driving you? What made you a jiva? You question that itself. Oh, I never knew. When this is pointed out, he says, oh my God, I never knew this thing. I have searched so much, but I never knew. Nobody knows. Even I didn't know. My guru has to tell me. Everybody has to be told. That's why we say it is a guru's help. Shastra's help alone is required. Because that's why swabhavik adhyasa. Nobody can ever discover that you are under that drive. That instinctive drive, instinctive adhyasa is driving you, pushing you. That it is there in instinctive adhyasa. Nobody even suspects it. That's why we say Shastra or Guru has to, once it pointed out, it is not to be believed. You point out. Shruti points out. Guru points out. Shastra points. You point out, you draw your attention to it. You come to discover. Yes, I know it now. You know it. Yes, everybody can know. Anybody can know. Only somebody need to suggest. Somebody need to point out. Once you discover, yes, I know. Oh, I know it. Oh, it is already there in me. I didn't need your help at all. Your means Guru's help. I didn't need Guru's help. I didn't need Shastra's help. I know it now, guys. See, we admit that it is there in your anubhava. It is everybody's anubhava. But nobody can discover on his own. Because your mind is always turned outside. Your mind is turned outside. It can never question itself. Because its very nature is instinctively always turned outside. It can never question itself. Unless pointed out by somebody. This is the problem. This is the tricky situation of life. This is the problem of life. We are all in the same boat. Nobody is special, nobody is extra anything. Everybody is in the same. If some given person, very extraordinary, rarest person, can question himself, we have got explanation for it. That means he got a suggestion of Vedanta somewhere by Guru, at least in his Pura Janma. Somewhere he got it. That suggestion, that is called Vedanta. The suggestion to turn inwardly. Look at this thing which you have been ignoring, which you are taking for granted. Ignoring means taking for granted. In fact, you get driven by that instinctive adhyasa. There is an instinctive adhyasa which you are taking for granted. Pay attention to that. Somebody must have touched it. Somebody must have pointed out somewhere. But you just started observing it. You instead of continuing further, your life came to an end because prarabdha came to an end and your life was over. You are busy with something else. You could not do vichara. But that suggestion planted in you remained. In this janma, the seed which was planted opens up. Now you start questioning it. People say, no, I did not study Shastra. I did not. See, you look at our Shastra, it is not a first day that we are studying Vedanta for millions and millions of years. In fact, we call it from yugas, right from beginning. So we have got answers. Answers means not just intellectual answers based upon facts, based upon our life. All Vedanta gives answers to all our questions. Therefore, somebody comes, we discover, we have invented that here is Ramana Maharshi, who has not studied Vedanta, yet he understood. Therefore, Upanishad and Vedanta, Guru is not inevitable. You can discover on your own. Then discover, let the world discover. Let me see how many people discover. And how do they discover? See, this is all, they make a conclusion, you see. First thing is, they take one event, one example of Ramana Maharshi. Then why, and that too is an exception to all general rule. Not only Ramana Maharshi, there are many other people in India. Okay, but even that exception also how we explain, it doesn't look at how we explain. And our explanation is more reasonable and convincing. Even Ramana Maharshi himself told. Ramana Maharshi himself told in Purajanma, I got these things and I am continued in these things. I didn't need a separate teaching. No, all that they set aside. They want to say no. Not only they want to make this exception as a general and make it a general rule. You don't need Vedanta, you don't need Guru, you don't need teaching at all. That is only for your own selfish people, these Indian gurus and tradition, just to make their importance. They are insisting everybody must go to Guru, everybody must study from Vedanta. Oh, they are. You see how you are imposing the motive on them against the fact of life. Now, this is the kind of research. It's a motivated research. It's not research. There are many people, some of them in India, and many of foreigners are also coming and doing books and they're trying to confuse Indian society. Anyway, let them do. Fact is a fact. Nobody can hide the fact, and you can understand. Thing is, they will do some mischief by writing books and all that. I know, I have met one person, and he has published a book, and Ramanashram publishes it. The same book is, now it is translated into many Indian languages, and everybody is reading now. He selected all that which looks similar to Vedantic ideas, Vedantic words, all that he avoids. Takes only which look odd looking statement, which for him look like non-Vedantic. But we see the same thing, we see in his words also as a Vedanta. Which look different from Vedanta also we see Vedanta, because that's how it is. Because the truth is in your anubhava, according to your anubhava, where will you go? But he says, which look different, like all that he compiled. He says, this is purely Ramana Maharshi's, and all other things is under the influence of Vedanta. This is Ramana Maharshi. It doesn't come under tradition. It doesn't read, he did not go to Guru. He did not belong to tradition. He did not study Upanishad, and he is totally different. Therefore, now what his conclusion is, we can destroy Hinduism, we can destroy Upanishads, we don't need them. We can do on your own. This is called, our Rajiv Malhotra says, deconstructing. I have seen this already. I learnt this word after I read book. After I read Rajiv Malhotra's book, I learnt this word. Oh, you call this deconstruction. I didn't know what is this deconstruction. My English is very poor. You must have seen that. I make many grammatical mistakes. My English is very poor because I have not studied even in English medium. Anyway, I picked up little English just to manage to communicate. So, I learned that word, but this idea which I knew because I already observed here many times, went to Ramana Ashram and talked to people, read his books and many things. Even that person, I don't want to take his name, that person who wrote this book, I saw him in Ramana Ashram long before. It was, I think, 30 years ago. 30, more than 30 years ago. So I saw him. So this just as an example, not to criticize any person or anything, okay, just as an example. What I am telling is not an imagination. It is based upon reality. Therefore, I am just taking an example. Not that we want to criticize any person or anybody. Because these are all, any event is a part of the world alone. We don't have to isolate any person and criticize. Any event is a part of the world. Part of Triguna only, Sattva, Rajas, Tamaguna. Why blame any given individual? Anything is a part of Sattva, Rajas, Tamaguna. So it's a part of the world. He also is a part of the world alone. We don't have to isolate him and then criticize him and start hating and all that. That's meaningless. That doesn't serve any purpose. Thing is, understand how this kind of mind works. Now, but Ramana Maharshi himself says, but he ignores that word. He himself says one place, I can give you number of quotations. So he himself told. So it is the human mind itself cannot. Even what is Ramana Maharshi doing? And he says, turn your inside, look at yourself. That itself is enough Mahavakya. That itself is a Mahavakya. You turn inwardly. Are you the same person? Some people say, yes, I am an individual, I am seeing the world. Are you seeing the same in Sushupti? That means he is asking you to look at yourself, divide off your adhyasa. That is Pramatrutvam. Free from Pramatrutvam, you stand as a Sakshi in your deep sleep. He is turning your attention. That is Mahavakya. But he himself is doing the same thing. He says, no, Ramana Maharshi doesn't teach Vedanta. He teaches his own. What is his own? What is his own? This is what is Mahavakya. You turn your attention, remove Pramatrutvam and point out that you stand as Brahman without Pramatrutvam, without world. No, he has to separate Ramana Maharshi. The people who is supposed to learn first, before they learn, they start dividing Ramana and then Shankara, and then they do all those things. They come here to divide and then antagonize people and then create conflict. They come here not to learn. Of course, there are some good people. They learn. Sincere Jignasus also came and learned from Ramana Maharshi. They were really good people. So we are not generalizing everybody, but there are some people. Some of the foreigners are real Jignasus and real good people. So this is what. So he see how he divided. I only want to draw your attention to these things. How some people do that. Divide these things. So that the basic adhyasa which is driving instinctively. But your mind and thinking and your individuality, Pramatrutvam, all the time turned outside. Because Pramata looks at Prameya. Okay? The mind which is an individual, the very individuality means looking outside. I as an individual look at the object. I as a subject, I am a subject as long as I look at the object. If I turn my attention from the object, you see this is an interesting thing. If I turn my attention from the object towards the subject, object ceases to be there. If object ceases, I cease to be a subject. I become a non-dual. That's where it is the. So I remain in a subject that is a Pramatru. Only the Pramatru is always focused on Prameya. Is an object. So this is what is samsara. That you remain an individual, a Pramatru, your attention is always on the object. This is what is instinctive adhyasa. It doesn't allow you to look at yourself. Because its very nature is instinctively looking outside. Paranchikani Vetrunat Swayam. All Upanishad says, Kathopanishad says, every Upanishad says the same thing. Atma Kamaha, Apta Kama, Vayatma Brahadaranaka says, every Upanishad says the same. Only thing is their technical language, because different guru was teaching to different disciples. So their words, their expressions was different. But you see the underlying principle is same. The same principle is taught in Kathopanishad in one language. The same is taught in Gita, same is taught in Taittiriya, same is taught in Mandukya, same is taught in Brahadar. Every Upanishad, every Vedanta teaches the same thing. But each one being a creative guru, he uses his own words according to the disciple in a different way. But all of them mean the same thing. Turn your attention. Ramana Maharshi told the same thing. Same thing Upanishad says. Now for him, no, Ramana Maharshi has to be seen as different. First already he decided. Before he learns, He comes with an opinion. Now you have to put Ramana Maharshi outside Hinduism, outside Vedanta. I don't know what is his goal now, what is his Purushartha, what does he want to achieve by this kind of thing? What does he want to achieve? This is a motivated. This motivation is adhyasa. This is Bhranti, this is a Bahirmukhata, this is Raga Dvesha. No person can find the truth by Raga, Dvesha, motive, Abhimana and all those things. You have to be just open, simple, humble person without any prejudice, just interested in the truth as a truth. And that too, he doesn't have a guru, reads the book and interprets in his own way. See, he thinks that by reading the book he can interpret. And stay a long time for 10 or 20 years in Ramanashram and then be some simple person, humble person, take the food like them, sit like them, wear clothes like them. And then this wearing the clothes and all these things doesn't make any difference. Ultimately, how you think, how you understand. Okay, and then eat like Indians and may learn Indian languages and stay a long time and say that you have got a devotee of Ramana. All Indians are devotees. See, in India, we don't divide any guru. People ask you, are you a devotee of Ramana? Who is not? Every Indian is a devotee. Every Hindu is a devotee. So, there is no question of devotee, non-devotee. Any Mahatma, every Mahatma of our Hindu society is not only Hindu society, even outside, wherever there is a Jnani Bhakta, we are all devotees. We may not know that Mahatma, but his Jnanam, his Anubhava, his Bhakti, his Vairagyam, we respect. Wherever it is, we respect it. We may not know the person. But when we respect all. So, they say, no, are you Ramana devotee? But he lived in Ramanashram, therefore he is Ramana devotee. This kind of a dividing the people, we don't have it. We say, people generally say, I am Ramana devotee. Ramana devotee means I often read his books and go to him and I think of him. That's what it means. Others may not do, but they are also devotee. Even if they are Shankara devotees, they are Ramana devotees also. Because both of them talk of the same truth. When the truth is same, now if I ask you, are you devotee of Shuka Maharshi? You may say, no, I am not. Can you say I am not? Because Shuka has not taught you personally anything. Shuka has not written any book. But now, can I ask you that, are you Shuka Maharshi's devotee? Why not? What? Because Shuka knows the same truth which Shankaracharya taught, Vedavyasa wrote, Badarayana wrote, and all Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and everybody, Ramana Maharshi, everybody taught. So, once you are a devotee of any sincere Bhakta Jnani, we are devotee of anybody. We may not know his name, we may not read his books, but still we are devotee. That means any good thing wherever he is in any person, if we respect the truth in one person, the truth taught by one person, if the same truth is taught by anybody else, our respect is knowingly, unknowingly belongs to all of them. Knowingly, unknowingly. We may not know him personally, but the respect applies to them. You can't say, no, I am not his devotee, I am a devotee of this person alone. This we don't have. I think we never had this kind of, right from childhood we never had. Never asked, are you devotee of this thing? Nobody asked, everybody devotee. If he is a Datta Bhakta, somebody is Ramana Bhakta, somebody is some other Bhakta, Shankaracharya Bhakta. We come in together and he tells whatever he read, whatever he understood. Else we listen. When he says Datta, immediately do Namaskara. But I don't say, I am not Datta Bhakta, I won't read, I will listen to only Ramana Maharshi. We don't divide like this. Any Jnani is a Jnani. Once he is a Jnani, he is not a person, he is not a body, he is Brahman only. He is directly Brahman. So whatever he says, whatever is said in his name, it is the way of presentation differs, but it is the same truth. Therefore, we don't divide it. And we, our Indians, should learn that. Whether Indians or some of these foreigners, whoever tries to divide like this, explain like this, understand this is only a motivated writing and they are not understanding the real tradition, a real guru. Okay? Every point we have to explain, because more we explain, more there is an aggressive negative propaganda. Each point they have to distort, misrepresent, misinterpret and put it and do propagate, because their propagation is bigger. They can publish books, they have got followers, they put all this in, what is that, in YouTube and all that, they keep on doing many things. So we say that it is anyway truth, Jignasus come and learn, we teach them. We don't bother to, counteract this propaganda, but they do have got aggressive propaganda. And then sometimes we have go a little out of the way and explain. Otherwise we don't bother. We teach what is the right, let them learn. People come and go. If you stick to only teaching the Jignasus, teaching the students, they will understand. But this propaganda unconsciously going on all over the things. Unconsciously it affects our own people, those who come to us. The students who come to us, they also unconsciously get affected and they come with that background. Then we have to keep that in mind, and once in a while I have to touch that also. Not that I want to criticize anybody personally and or disrespect them, demean them or anything. If you misunderstand, what is that? That's what Prakriti's nature. If that person misunderstands, that is the nature of Prakriti. There is a prejudice and some Rajoguna, Tamoguna sticks in your mind, you become prejudiced and you start misunderstanding and misinterpreting. And that's natural, that's what Prakriti is. And that is the goal of life, that you have to correct that misunderstanding and come out. If he doesn't come out and if he or she, somebody, if he doesn't come out of it, he continues in that and does a big propaganda, doesn't mean it becomes true. Let him do propaganda, but still it is wrong is wrong. Even if he does propaganda, wrong is wrong. Even if you don't do propaganda, what is right is right. This is our way of looking. Truth is truth. Truth doesn't depend upon how many people tell. Truth doesn't depend upon propaganda. Truth depends upon truth. And you come to understand if you know it properly with your unprejudiced open mind. A truth always requires openness. Otherwise, why do we need a proper... In fact, the very prejudice is a curse for ourselves, I tell you. More than others, we are harming ourselves. Any person, let's say, see, the Hindus have been thinking, whoever misunderstood, whoever does wrong thinking, or whoever has got a prejudice and tries to propagate, more than others, he is harming himself. Because he is retaining that misunderstanding and propagating to others. Others, somebody will help them to come out of the propaganda, come out of the influence of propaganda. Some Maharshi will come, some Mahatma will come, some Jnani will come, some Acharya will come and help the people. If you have propagated them and misled them, if luck is good, when they are mature enough, somebody, Guru, will come and guide them. But you people, you person, this person who has done a big propaganda, wrote books and all those things, you die with your maturity, and it will continue into your next Janma also, unless some Guru's blessing, you give up your prejudice and then become open-minded and start understanding. So that's why Hindus never bothered. People think that, hey, Swamiji, they are doing such a big propaganda against us, why don't you take on? It is not a war, we don't wage a war. Only war is only between wrong thinking only. The truth and untruth, there can be war. Avivado aviruddhasya, there can't be war between truth and untruth. The contention, the competition between wrong and wrong. There can be competition between wrong and wrong. There can't be competition between truth and wrong. If you want truth, we will help you. Come on, understand. Listen to us, we will help you. You will come out of all those misunderstandings and you will understand the truth. So truth is directly your anubhava. We just point out and you can see for yourself. So the person who is propagating wrongly out of prejudice and all that, it is a big curse for himself. And if he writes books and succeeds in misleading few more people, those people are also unfortunate people because of their misunderstanding, their ajnana, their papa. They come under this influence, but later they will come out. If their punya is good, if they go to pray to Bhagavan, Bhagavan will show them the right Guru and tell them, hey, this is a propaganda, you came under the influence of this wrong propaganda, that's wrongly written. Those fellows who were first influenced by your book, later they will leave those books and come out if they are lucky enough. Luck means punya. If they have got punya, some Guru will come and help them, they will come out of those prejudice. They will come to understand the truth. But the propagator, being stubborn, I am propagating, I am writing a book and I will do all this, propagator gets stuck. That one who is influenced by this propagation, if he is lucky, he will come out. If he is not lucky, then we can only say that his papa is holding him. He is not holding him. He is holding him. So he is not allowing him to come out of it. So he has to experience. Because if you are under wrong impression, prejudice, you will be suffering as a result of prejudice. The suffering is due to papa. If punya is there, some Guru will come. You become open. And you understand, oh, this is a prejudice, I was wrong. Whoever told, under whosoever influence, however great that person, this wrong is wrong. Habba, you give up. Instead of criticizing that person, hating the person, oh, he wrote the book and propagated wrong things, I was under influence, I came to this thing, so I hate him and I do. Don't hate, don't do propaganda. You come out of it and that's all. Because propaganda comes only by hatred. We don't have to hate him. He is under wrong. He is under misunderstanding. He is prejudiced. He has cursed himself. And his own cursed state is writing books and propagating. It looks so childish. Anyway, this is how the human mind is. You get stuck with the wrong thing and then stubbornly you go. That's why you need to be very humble, very openness we call it. Shraddha means openness. Openness requires a lot of humility. Humility means not taking for granted, not become prejudiced, either in favor of somebody or against somebody. Neither in favor of somebody nor against somebody. Don't be prejudiced. This requires a lot of shraddha, lot of openness. This openness is humility. Neither in favor of somebody nor against somebody. Then your mind is simply open like a baby. Open like a baby. Takes anything, whichever you tell, ready to see any point, any fact you point out. The very adhyasa is instinctively present in us. Guru points out. You just see, my individuality is always looking outside, within time and place, within time, within space, within related to object, always paying attention to object. I remain a subject, pay attention to the object. But your subject itself is an outward looking, outward faced. Remove that. Because outward looking doesn't show you what you real are. So just drop the object. You drop your very subjecthood. You stand as a sakshi. Truth is so simple. You become unprejudiced, you become so simple. These people, propaganda, they come and spend years together, write books and try to confuse people because they see, whoever is stubborn, prejudiced, he doesn't question himself rather than tries to propagate against others. This is a big danger. This is not it. Seeking truth. This is not seeking the truth. Seeking truth means question your pramatrutva, question your adhyasa. While questioning adhyasa, you can see others, how others told, what they told, just as a secondary thing. Main thing is your self-enquiry. As a part of self-enquiry, you can look around which acharya, which guru, which book says something and try to see whether is that in keeping with your anubhava. Oh, this acharya says, this guru says, this person says something which doesn't seem to be in keeping with anubhava. Oh, this is moving away from anubhava. He's talking different thing. Oh, we sympathetically we leave it aside. Go to another acharya. See them. Which acharya is touching the truth, not prejudiced, and who is coming to certain extent and dropping away. He's not probing further deeply into you, coming up to certain extent, but pramatrutvam he doesn't drop off. He retains pramatrutvam and looks at it. Oh, this is where he's stuck. So be open and search. You'll find. Therefore, you may read others' books. But our goal is not to attack them, criticize them, butcher them, and then squeeze them and then throw them. All that is unnecessary because all the misunderstandings are only pramatrus, outwardness alone. Outward outlook. External outlook of pramatrutvam is the real adhyasa. That is the real understanding. All the non-Vedantic prakriya, anti-Vedantic prakriyas means the way of looking, all of them are springing from adhyasa. They are self-condemned. Adhyasa means self-condemned. They get refuted. They refute themselves. Because they don't question adhyasa, they issue from adhyasa. All those things based upon adhyasa, issue from adhyasa, are condemning themselves, refuting themselves. Shankaracharya's in Mandukya Bhashya, you can see them. Avivado aviruddhascha. They are self-defeating. You just don't have to worry. Avivado aviruddhascha. Real Advaita is non-controversial. Because a fact is a fact. You are open, you will see it. If you are not open, that itself is a curse for you. You are closing yourself. Why do we quarrel with anybody? Okay. We bring, in fact, in spite of these things, we bring others' explanations, how they explain, what they say, how Mulavidyavadis say, how these people say, how these people, we bring them. But bring them to understand ourselves, not, our focus is not to criticize them. Our focus is not to defeat them. Our focus is not to look down upon them. Our focus is, with their help, to verify our own heart, how far what they say is right. In the process, we'll be more minutely observing yourself. That is the purpose. Minutely we can observe ourselves with the help of Acharya's teaching, others' teaching. This is the patience, openness. Openness involves very much humility. Okay, I think I have taken time. It is 49, you have 50 minutes. I thought of half an hour. Anyway, it took a little more. This topic is not... Anyway, we'll go slowly. Because my teaching, you have seen my Sugama. I go so many other places. I stick to the topic, but little deviations also there. But the deviations are not totally irrelevant to Vedanta. They are related to Vedanta in a way, but I again stick to the topic. I come back to the text. I'll never lose the text. So these things, the common man's drishti and Vedantic drishti. Because in the first passage, common man's drishti. Second, from the 2nd to 5, Jignasu Pratipatti. From the 2nd, 3rd and 4th and 5, these, first one was Vedanta Prakriya. Second was some kind of Anubandha Chatushtaya. 3rd to 5th was a common man's looking. And then the 6th onwards, Mulavidyavadi's explanation. Then the later comes real Vedantins explanation. But before these things, these basic things we need to understand. Then only we know, otherwise we don't know where we are going. It looks too technical. All the highly technical and boring. It's not technical, it is just our own observation, our own understanding. So books have to be written technical, because we have to write the books for the teachers as well as students and all other people. Therefore, books will be technical. But when I explain, my purpose is to basic jignasa. Therefore, take the technical book and explain. So this is the difference. So the Vedantic basic prakriya was taught. Then why the common man missed it and he asserting his own way? Because he lost. He has not. He doesn't have the teacher's vision, Vedantic outlook. So he goes by his own way. Takes that basic, that examination of 3 states will help you to understand the truth. He takes only that statement, applies to his own context. He fails. Oh, it doesn't work, he says. That's what he told. That's what he told in all these 3 passages. Now the Mulavidyavadi is coming. Mulavidyavadi is better than common man. He goes up to he covers many good points, but somewhere in small point in Sushupti he gets stuck. In 2 states he is better, he is somewhat better. Now how is much better than common man? He comes a long way in Vedanta, but somewhere he gets stuck. Then the real Vedantin, that is Swamiji Shankara's Prakriya, comes up and he clears even that small point where he is stuck and makes it a thoroughly good Prakriya, which is Upanishadi, and which is Shankara's perfect Prakriya. Now you understand these levels. Okay, 3 common mans, Mulavidyavadis, and then Advaita Vedantins, Shankara's Prakriya. In between we touch the other point also, other schools, little bit of other schools also. These four angles of looking come here. We toggle between them, we keep on touching them and compare and contrast and help them. So if you keep this in mind, you won't get confused. Okay. Okay, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat. These last 2 to 3 days, I had my stomach is the biggest problem. I don't know, nothing works. It always gives me trouble. So in between I skip. There was a long gap. I hope hereafter we will continue regularly. It's all Bhagavan's anugraha.